This episode of Eat the Rules is brought to you by You on Fire. You on Fire is the online group coaching program that I run that gives you a step-by-step way of building up your self-worth beyond your appearance. With personalized coaching from me, incredible community support, and lifetime access to the program so that you can get free from body shame and live life on your own terms. Get details on what's included and sign up for the next cycle at summerinnanen.com/you on fire. I'd love to have you in that group. This is Eat the Rules, a podcast about body image, self-worth, anti-dieting, and intersectional feminism. I am your host, Summer Innanen, a professionally trained coach specializing in body image, self-worth, and confidence, and the best-selling author of Body Image Remix. If you're ready to break free of societal standards and stop living behind the number on your scale, then you have come to the right place. Welcome to the show. This is episode 237, and I'm joined by my co-teacher in the Body Image Coach Certification Program, Danni Amapoundcake Adams. We are together talking about our first time teaching the very first cohort of the Body Image Coach Certification Program. So we talk about what we enjoyed most about teaching professionals, our favorite aspects of the program, as well. We catch up with 3 of the students who are here to share their experiences doing the certification program. You can find all the links and resources mentioned in this episode at summerinnanen.com/237. You can also learn more about the Body Image Coach Certification Program at bodyimagecoachcertification.com. We're not going to spend much time talking about the program itself today because we did that in a previous episode. If you're interested in learning more, you can go back and listen to episode 221, or you can find that at summerinnanen.com/221. But in this episode, we really wanted to just share our experiences going through this process together officially for the first time, and what we really enjoy about our program and what we think that you'd probably like about it too. So if you're unfamiliar with the Body Image Coach Certification Program, it is a 4-month program for professionals. It's for any professional that works with people that may struggle with body image issues. So we've had a nurse do the program, a boudoir photographer, we've had intuitive eating counselors, a therapist, a naturopathic doctor, educator, personal trainer, yoga teacher. So lots of different professionals have come to do this training with us because they also work with people who struggle with body image. So it's a perfect complement to what you're already doing if you are a professional, and you also have people coming to you that struggle with body image concerns. And you can find more information about that at bodyimagecoachcertification.com. And our fall cohort will be starting on September 6th. Applications close for that on August 25th. If you miss this cycle, we'll be hopefully doing another one in the new year, so you can check out details for that then. All right, let's get started with the show. Hello, I'm Amapoundcake. Welcome back. I'm so excited to be chatting with you about our program again.
I know, me too. I'm excited to be on here talking again. Going around too.
I know. So we are doing a little bit of a debrief together because we just wrapped up our first cohort of the Body Image Coach Certification Program. We talked on a previous episode more about the program itself and what you learn in it. So if you want to go back and reference that, you can go to episode 221 of Eat the Rules, or you can also go to Body Image Coach Certification Program. Body Image Coach Certification. Wait a minute. What's the URL? Oh my God. I'm butchering it. Let me make sure I got this right.
Coaching certification.
No. It's bodyimagecoachcertification.com.
Okay, guys.
Bodyimagecoachcertification.com. I should buy the other URL with the ing, with the coaching, so that redirects, because I swear I say it both ways too. Anyways, that will, if you type it into Google, it'll come up because it's the only one out there, and we're super excited about it. So in this episode, we're going to be sharing just 3 of the participants. They're going to talk a little bit about their experience and what they really enjoyed about the process. But we wanted to just kick off the episode talking a little bit about what we enjoyed about our first time co-teaching this together and doing this training. So I've kind of spoken enough here. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what it was like for you to train other professionals this time around?
I think I was super excited. This is my first group ever training, first time ever training professionals become body image coaches, and it was great. I think everybody was just really engaged. Well, a lot of people were just they had questions. And I think that was the part that got me. I was like, okay, you're really into the material. You went to practice. Now you're coming back with your questions. This worked, that didn't work. How do we do this? And I appreciated giving people the small group space outside of the which was our office hours. I loved office hours. I thought it was a space where people can get intimate and get more, maybe 2-on-2 help or 1-on-2, however it was. But it was just a very smaller, intimate setting. We can dig in ways to help specific people with specific issues. And I liked it.
Yeah, I think what I thought was so cool this time around too was the breadth of different professionals that we had. So we had, a naturopathic doctor, therapist, some high school counselors, educators, and some other coaches or intuitive eating counselors. It was this huge array of professionals that work with different demographics and
from different parts of the world.
Yes. From different parts of the world. Yeah. Personal trainer. There were so many different perspectives and unique kind of challenges based on the demographic that they work with that I thought was so great. Cause if you think about kind of the impact that's then going to have on the people that they work with and it's really cool to think about how they're going to influence so many more people as a result of having these tools and frameworks and skills and knowledge and everything else.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. What did you like best about training these other people?
Well, I'll tell you that my favorite session was self-care. When you're training, you're oh, I'm supposed to be teaching you how to help other people with self-care. And everyone's hey, I'm also working on this too, which is great because, in our certification, we talk about how you need to assess yourself where you are in life, understand that you're not perfect. You don't have the perfect body image. You don't have everything together, and it gives you more empathy for the people that we're helping. So I love that session the most. I think that was some of my biggest takeaways is that we're all unlearning in this society. And, we're just the people who are doing the extra work to help people, but we also do internal work too, which is good.
Yeah, I think from a session perspective, my favorite was probably the one that you did on bias in coaching, and specifically really looking at the social I can never say this word, determinants of health, and having us really understand all the different micro variables that, as someone coming from a place that grew up with more class privilege and white privilege, having these knowledge gaps in terms of not even really recognizing that some people don't have access to a safe neighborhood, and that the impact then on their ability to engage in health behaviors or receive healthcare. And I just found that to be extremely valuable to be able to then speak to this kind of stuff and being able to acknowledge privilege and being able to speak to it from a perspective of, helping everybody and knowing that it's not just about eating more kale and stuff like that. Health is really such a bigger conversation that we're often missing the mark on. And that was really important to me.
Oh, yes. I love that session too. I think I like the fact that in that session, I bring out how VPK and having a playground, which is pre-K for those who are listening from other parts of the world. It's what youth go to before they go to kindergarten, but like how that makes a major impact on your health. And we don't think about those kinds of things when we're talking about health. Like you said, we were like, just stop drinking the soda.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what I really loved about this training as well was the demonstrations that we did with each of the different frameworks and tools. It was so great to have, people bring up their own challenges and be able to then work through them using these tools and show how that can be implemented and really show how that can go into practice when you're working with a client. And I just appreciated everyone's willingness to, participate in some of those things and, be vulnerable within the safe container of our group if they wanted to be. It's not mandatory, but I just think that that's always such a wonderful thing because you see the impact that it can have.
Yeah, that was great too. The demonstrations were pretty good. I'm thinking about the self-care demonstration and how we actually got to a place. I really appreciated that one.
Yeah, it's so good, right? And anything else that you particularly enjoyed about doing this session together?
Well, I think that we, after taking almost a year to create this and see how I think a lot of feedback was good too, that, how well we executed the certification together. And even the quiz thing, I really appreciated us having some type of take home assignment. You don't just listen and practice, but there's actually some form of work here. Not a lot, but a lot of it is rooted in go practice. But I like the structure that we created for the course.
Yeah, I do too. And I think we have a good dynamic together, if I do say so myself. So I like your sense of humor.
You're in Canada and I'm in the States.
I know, the polar opposite ends too.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything that you feel I don't like comparing this to other programs because I haven't, done similar programs, but is there anything that you feel just in general kind of that you really value about this program as a whole that you would feel like you'd want to mention to people?
Well, I definitely think that you won't just get the how to, what I'll say is that you will get the bias training, like you mentioned earlier, how this body positivity or body image is also connected to a structural issue, right? And how people want to love themselves. Also, the world is fat phobic and anti-Black. And also we live in societies that hate women and that is very real. And I think we dig deep into that. I think folks have become more comfortable in this course. I mean, they can speak for themselves, but at least I received that, if you are a privileged person, and how do you serve people or work with people when you have the most privilege and they're talking to you about, hey, I'm experiencing fat phobia. And I think that folks are getting the resources here and being able to have those vulnerable conversations that I don't typically think we can have online, right? Cause immediately people go to cancel or you didn't say the right thing. And I think that we create these intimate spaces where people can be vulnerable and say, hey, I have privilege and I want to help everybody, but how do I do it? And also honor my privilege. And those are the tools you get here.
Yes, I would 100% agree with that. I think that that's what I found the most valuable is just that willingness for people to, who maybe have different lived experiences than some of their clients, to be able to come to it and say, okay, how can I best support a client who comes to me who's experiencing, weight stigma or, something, weight discrimination at the doctor's office when I haven't experienced that myself? What's the best way for me to help them? Or if one of my clients is disabled, how can I best kind of implement some of these tools to help them, knowing that I don't have that shared lived experience. And I think that a lot of the teachings that you did help to integrate that. And then also just the group discussions around that and sharing of resources and other people who can share their different lived experiences or experiences with clients. I would agree. That's what I see as the most valuable thing as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Amazing. Anything else that we want to say here? I know it's only been like 11 and a half minutes, but I feel like we've said a lot of what we wanted to say.
They're going to hear a lot of people talk. A lot of people, they're going to hear other folks talk about the course. So I'm going to say a lot of people, but no, I just think that people should definitely take the course. And it's just going to be so fruitful for you. You're going to learn, all the practical things. You're going to learn the social justice things. And I think that those different frameworks together will help you be a great body image coach and help you serve the people that you're working with. And then you'll have us as a resource, and also you'll have previous courses, because we definitely previous students, because we have a group chat on Facebook where folks get to communicate and bounce ideas. But however, you have to join our program in order to be a part of that private group chat.
Yeah, I love all of that stuff. And I think that this program's for anyone who works with people who have body image struggles. So you don't specifically have to, work with people around intuitive eating or, work with people and your sole focus is body image. Like, we've had people do this who, like I said, we had a naturopathic doctor, we've had like a personal trainer, like we've had educators. And so if, you have clients or people coming to you that you work with that also struggle with body image, then this program's definitely for you. So it doesn't have to be your sole focus. This is like something that can be so helpful to whatever you're already doing in whatever space you work in. And it'll help you be, fat positive and really look at things from a social justice perspective. So if you want to learn more, go to bodyimagecoachcertification.com. That will also be in the show notes, or you can Google it, or you can look at any of our profiles on social media. I think we'll probably just wrap it here and go into the interviews so you can hear from some of the students who actually did the program this time around. Is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap it up here?
Nope. Can't wait to have you all in the class.
Yeah. And where can people find you on social media just before we?
Amapoundcake on every social media platform, Amapoundcake.
And you're one of my favorite people to follow. So
thank you. Same. Back to you.
Thank you. All right. Let's hear some of these interviews. Okay, let's get into some of these interviews. We are going to hear from Carrie, a naturopathic doctor. We are going to hear from Camila, an intuitive eating counselor, and Patty, a therapist here in Canada. I will let those run through for you, and I'll be back at the outro. Let's do this.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, no problem, Summer.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to talk about your experience in the program. Do you want to tell everyone just a little bit about what you do and how you help people with body image?
Sure. I'm a naturopathic doctor over here in Ontario, Canada. So I graduated in 2003. So I've been at it a little while. And I started to take on the health at every size intuitive eating approach about 10 or 15 years ago, when I saw that things weren't working the way I was taught. And so lots around the food side of things, and the body image work really came from my own experience. But so we talk about body image because I don't think you can talk about nutrition without talking about body image. But it wasn't really organized. It was just a mishmash of stuff that I'd picked up along the way over the years of my own personal work.
Yeah. Wow. You were an early adopter in terms of like the anti-diet message then 10 or 15 years ago. A lot of
personal experience showing it didn't work. So
yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize that. So how confident do you feel supporting clients with body image now? What's changed for you?
What I like is you gave us lots of tools and lots of strategies, some of which I had been using and some I had not, but you sequenced them. You gave a bit of structure. I mean, part of why I love intuitive eating is because it's a structure, it's a framework. And so within that, I can work with my patients and find the nuances. And now I feel like I have that part with the body image. So I have lots of tools in the toolbox. I have just a better understanding when a patient says this is what we're going to bring in. And let's make sure we do this before we do that. So that really gives me a lot more confidence. And like I've already been using the tools and creating worksheets and all the things because they're really useful.
Amazing. That's so great. I love hearing that. And so what did you like best about the training?
I mean, it was really nice being in a group of other healing professionals and from different walks of life and different backgrounds. And so it was nice to just get more peripheral vision. I work with very privileged people. So it was really, really helpful to get not everybody has access to all of the things that I have access to, and hearing other people's experiences and watching the demos. Everyone in the group was so amazingly generous with their experience and their process. And that was really amazing. That connection with other people, and seeing them and listening to their questions and how they were doing it with people, the book suggestions that came from other people. So it was really that group environment that I loved the most.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think that smaller group format is amazing because, I mean, Danny and I don't know it all. We know a lot of things, but to have other people's perspectives and like very different experiences, like you're a naturopathic doctor, there's therapists, like educators. And so different people working with different demographics and things like that. And to have, all of those, just different perspectives and experiences, and then shared to help each other. It just feels very much like a collaborative thing. And that is one of the things that I value so much about it, is just learning from other professionals and having that greater network of people doing similar work to yourself, but just doing it in a different way.
Yeah, it's that wisdom and knowledge that we've all been gathering through all of our years in our work, and our personal experiences, because, it's personal, right?
Yeah.
So bringing that and sharing that. And I must have bought another 5 books. I really have to stop buying books, but just from what people were talking about with different, here, read this next stuff.
Totally. What did you like about the demos so much, just out of curiosity?
It was nice to see the languaging and, again, the sequencing. It's one thing to sort of, read the idea of how you're going to go through something, but then actually watching someone go through it, and the pausing or the going off script because something came up, and not, I'm a visual learner and an experiential, is that a word? Learner. So to just read how something's done wouldn't have given me the same confidence as watching it being done or experiencing it myself, because I volunteered to be demoed on a couple of times, and it was to really feel what that felt like was invaluable, right? It was just, I knew what it felt like to be in this side of that experience. And that was really, really helpful.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. I'm so glad about that. Thank you. And so what was the one thing that really impacted you the most, or that you like really took away, or if you can find one thing?
Yeah, I've been going through and making the worksheets and sort of just reviewing all of the different slide decks and some of the stuff that we've learned. And I mean, the one about bias was great. Again, it's one of those things, I know they're there, but it's always nice to just, in a comfortable environment, dig through those a little bit more. I really liked Danny's self-care one at the end. I found that one, again, just the perspective brought to it and the languaging brought to it. I really liked that. It was a different kind of conversation about self-care than I think most of us are used to having about self-care.
Totally. Yeah. And you mentioned the bias one. Like, to me, that was one that Danny taught and new to me to see as well. And so, I think especially around the like conversations around health and things like that, and understanding just the very micro things that can impact someone's health in a very big way. And just things that you don't think about if you've, especially if you've come from like more class privilege or other forms of privilege where you just didn't experience it. So it's just a complete knowledge gap. And I found that super valuable too. Yeah.
And knowing those things can allow me to ask better questions.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever asked a patient about where they live and the kind of neighborhood they live in. Like I never even thought that would be a worthwhile question, but suddenly I'm like, oh, that is a really worthwhile question. Asking them do they drive? Do they have a car to get to the grocery store? These are things that I personally have never had to think about. So why would I? And now I'm asking better questions. Mm-hmm. I'm getting a feel.
Yeah, it's so important if you have, like an online platform to be able to just have a disclaimer for these nuances or speak to these nuances as well. Like, because you want to be as inclusive as possible, or at least be able to sort of, take these things into consideration. So, I learned so much from that too. That's why other stuff I took away from it. So would you recommend the certification program to other professionals then?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, when we're working, at least from a naturopathic perspective, our profession is riddled with diet and wellness culture. We're the forefront of delivering much of this wellness culture. So we don't even think about some of the things that are really important to ask and to consider when we're working with people. Again, they come in and it's in the name of health. And if we ask more questions, we learn so much more about what's really driving them. And we can have a much bigger impact on their overall health and their overall experience and how their children experience life. That I just think it's really important work that we all do. So yes, that was a long way to say yes.
Well, that's great. I appreciate that. And it's so great to hear how you're integrating it, because you're the first naturopath that's done this. And so I think that first of all, I think it's incredible that you are a naturopathic doctor, kind of doing things a little bit differently, trailblazer, and now incorporating, you were incorporating body image work, but doing more of that as well is just fantastic. You're going to have such a great impact. So I thank you so much for sharing all that today. Is there a place where people can find you? Like, do you want to just talk about where do you have a website or anything like that where people can find you?
My website is just my name. So Carrie Fullerton, Carrie with 2 R's and an I, Fullerton.com. And my social media handles are at The Diet Rebellion.
Amazing. You know what's great about that? I think I almost bought that URL like many, many years ago. Like that was originally going to be like my thing. And then I don't know why I changed it, but I've always had like my podcast was Fearless Rebel Radio. So anyways, it's just funny because I think I remember when I followed you, I was like, oh, that like I almost bought that URL.
Well, thank you for leaving it for me.
That's great though. Yeah. I'll link to that for everybody. And I love what you share online as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Camila. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about how you help people, what you do?
Yeah, right. Hi, Summer. Well, so I'm an intuitive eating counselor, and I work within my own company called Kroppsfred in Sweden. That means body peace. And I actually just recently started it last year when I became a certified intuitive eating counselor, and that is what I do. But I knew this before, but it's also become very clear since coaching people around their eating that you can't really do that successfully without really addressing body image. So that, because that's like where we get stuck, or like whenever like there is a fear of like trying new food, like it almost always comes down to like what's going to happen with my body when I do this, or fear of gaining weight or fear of not losing weight. And yeah, we kind of like remain stuck unless we address body image there. So yeah, so that's when it comes up. So, and if you think about it, like one point in time, that's kind of like when it all started. Like we were small kids and like eating and not thinking much about it, and then something happened. Like we got the message from our culture or parents or whoever, and we started like fixating on body and food. So we kind of need to go back there to heal the relationship with food.
Yeah, totally. And so how confident did you feel helping people before with body image concerns when they came up?
I would say I felt confident, like being like a good listener, feeling present, like meeting them with empathy. Like my background is within social work and counseling and coaching. So I felt confident with them, like being their partner on their journey. But I really felt like I lacked the, like how to move from like intellectual understanding of, like I need to improve my relationship with my body, but then how to do that. So it almost like became like I shouldn't hate myself, or I should accept my body, but to actually help the client to like, okay, how can we move to actually arriving somewhere closer to like body acceptance, how to do that, like actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how confident would you say you feel now with helping clients around body image? And I know you just finished, so maybe you haven't had a ton of practice, but
I a lot more confident, a lot more. I felt like the course was so, do you say comprehensive? Like it was so rich. So I still feel like, oh gosh, I want to go back and like watch the recordings again and like go through everything again, because there was like a lot to take in and digest and really like put to practice. But I do feel a lot more confident, and there are two things. Like one thing that makes me feel confident is this like framework that I feel like I have something to hold on to. Like, okay, we could start somewhere around here and move towards this end. And that there are like so many different tools that you and Amapoundcake gave us, like so you could like address body image from so many different, what do you say, like point of views and entry points. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot more. And I feel like I know like kind of what to listen for. Like I hear they say something and it goes like, there goes a little bell. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's when Summer and Danni spoke about this. And so I feel a lot more confident and secure.
Fantastic. I love hearing that. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
And what did you like?
It feels good to feel that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm so pleased to hear that. Yeah. And I love that you just said that you feel like you have like, all these different entry points to sort of approach things. That's great. And so what did you like best about the training?
There's so many things, but I loved actually the very small group format, that there was I really had the feeling that there was a space and a safe space for me to ask questions, and also like vulnerable questions that could be like around my own body image and experiences that I've had. So the small group format and getting to hear other professionals' experiences and things. And I love the demos when you and Danni like actually showed how you would coach around something, because that's just how I learn the best. To actually see it in front of me.
Yeah, totally. That's great.
Yeah, and I must say I also really love that you have this lens of social justice and intersectionalism, because that felt really important to me when also choosing to do your course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And I think that, Danni's content was like amazing around all of that stuff. Yeah. So important. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the one thing that you feel impacted you most about the class, or like a thing that you feel like this is one thing I really took away or from it?
Mm-hmm. If I have to choose one, which is hard. First of all, I do want to say like that you give so many different tools and so many different perspectives. I think that is actually what impacted me most, because that also helped me understand how complex this thing is around body image. It's not just like one tool that will help you heal your relationship with your body. And I also think of it like, okay, what do I want to give my daughter or young people? I look at it as like this toolbox that we were given. Like if young kids could have this, or young people could have this toolbox, that would be such a great like vaccine towards not ending. Like this is what we need to know and learn to not get caught up in the struggle. So actually, the whole thing is what impacted me most. And if I were to choose like one tool or one entry point, it would be the inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't really, if we cannot differentiate ourselves from that voice or those different voices of like diet culture and whatever, like capitalism or what, like the I don't know, the person who bullied you or whatever, if we can't like differentiate, and it's like that's something, that's a thought, it's a part of me saying that it's not the truth, then it's like really, really hard to dissect and really hard to like work with your beliefs if you think it's you. And that's, I think that module working with the inner critic really made that very clear, that you could have this healthy relationship, but also distance to your inner critic. And I also love that you teach it from a very like compassionate. Like some schools say, like argue with your, like speak up against your inner critic, or like put it in the closet, but I never found those recommendations really work. Like keeping your inner critic in the closet takes tremendous amount of energy.
Yeah.
So this approach is more like, okay, I hear you, I don't agree with you, but I can also listen to my inner critic from a place of compassion. It's like, I really hear that you want to have my back, you want to support me, or you want to keep me safe. It's not really working, but thank you. Like it's a very soft and empathic way to work with it. So that's my one, if I have to choose one.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. That's great. I mean, I feel like that is one of the ones that a lot of people walk away from feeling like, wow, this is really game changing for me and for my clients. So
yeah, it is, because it's not just useful when it comes to body image or fat phobia or weight stigma. It's like you could use it in any area of your life when something runs angry within your head.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we all know what that's like. Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is just, what would be your advice to other people, other professionals listening? Like, would you recommend this to them?
I would totally for anyone. I would say like working with people, maybe around their eating or self-esteem, or maybe like youth, like if you work with young people and want to give them like tools, like I said, to have some kind of like resilience and vaccine towards society's crazy demands of how you should look. So I could see many different professionals could like really gain a lot from this training. So yes, I would totally recommend it.
That's fantastic.
And we're also very generous about like with the handouts and like the material is so rich, and I love that I have this folder now on computer with all those slides and all those PDFs that I can go back to and practice again. And I felt you were really generous with all that content.
Yeah, amazing. I appreciate you being here. Do you want to tell people like where they can follow you or find you?
Yes, I would love to.
Yeah.
So they can find me on Instagram I'm going to try to spell this for you, like KROPPSFRED. It means body peace in Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah. So my Instagram is in Swedish. So, and I don't really know how to translate works, but well, I'd be happy if you gave it a try.
Yeah. Well, I just love it. I mean, you're representing, a country that I think doesn't have a ton of representation in this.
No, I think today we're 2 intuitive eating counselors in Sweden. And there are a few more like Norway, Denmark, Finland. So yeah, I feel eager to be one of the ones spreading this work and a weight neutral perspective in this part of the world, because it needs to be here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate you being here. I'll link to your Instagram in the
thank you.
Wherever this is being shared as well. Thank you so much, Camilla. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, Patty. Thank you so much for being here.
Summer, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everyone just a little bit about what you do, how you help people with body image?
Yeah, for sure. So I am in Western Canada, and I am a social worker by trade. And I also have some background in health education and eating disorders. And ways that I help people with body image is always start with those real foundational things that we know so well in terms of, like helping people clean up their social media, exposing themselves to body diversity, getting rid of these, tools of diet culture and stuff based on what they already know, and respecting their kind of body autonomy and where they're at. I'd like to start with that. And then I think a big thing in helping my clients kind of know where we want to go next is exploring where they might be pushing the pause button on their lives. And what I mean by that is that kind of thinking like, if then, so when I can lose weight, then I can start dating or apply for that job or travel or get new pictures taken or this sort of thinking. And we know that sort of thinking is really rooted in that like all or nothing or kind of that clean slate thinking. And I think a big part of that then is identifying these stories that people have created for themselves and really exploring that, what they're telling themselves about it, all the content of it. And this fits really well with like my main orientation that I use is called acceptance and commitment therapy. And that's really based in mindfulness and self-compassion and essentially these tenets of being present, opening up and doing what matters. And I thought the program really fit so nicely with that, like just these sort of getting anchored in the present moment. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I telling myself? When we talked about core beliefs and internal dialogue, and this sort of opening up and allowing these stories to be there, but then trying to connect to our values, what's important to us. And a really nice skill that I love to introduce all my clients to in the beginning. It's called dropping anchor, and it fits with all those tenets. And essentially it's, dropping this virtual anchor to steady the ship. And when we do that, when we steady a ship, when there's a storm, it doesn't change the storm. It doesn't calm the waves or make the clouds go away or change anything that way, but it steadies the ship to kind of take stock, be aware, and connect to what's important in that moment. So when we can drop our own anchor, we can acknowledge these stories that are coming up, come back to our body with just some sort of interoceptive awareness, what's going on, and put your feet on the ground or your butt in the chair and then engaging in that moment with something like, what's one small thing I can do next here that would move me towards, my values, or an act, we say a rich and meaningful life, which I think is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It seems like a big statement, but I think it's true. Yeah. And even further with that what that's called is diffusion. And that felt really nice again with some strategies in the certification around, turning down the volume on things, letting it be there without trying to get rid of it, because we can't unlearn things. We can't, if you get a song stuck in your head.
Yes, that's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah.
So, and distracting only goes so far as well. So it's like that really working on that acceptance. And I think that those are some things I really like to start with, and just kind of talking to that, the inner critic or that inner dialogue. Thanks, brain, for reminding me that, I can't get my photos taken until I change my weight or my shape or appearance. I know that story. Gotcha. And then, turning towards what's important. So,
yeah. So obviously, you have a pretty extensive training and background in terms of helping people in like a therapeutic setting. And so I'm curious to know, like, with having taken the certification course, like, how did that help you, or how do you feel more confident helping people now around body image? Like what did it sort of give you, given the amazing expertise that you already have?
Oh, thanks. Really, I do feel more confident. And I think there's two reasons for that. Like, I think the program gave me some new resources and tools, and reminded me of some things that perhaps, sometimes we get comfortable and we forget some things. So that was really great. But as well, it gave me validation that the work I've been doing for 10 or more years really is the stuff that's important, right? It's realistic, it's sustainable. As you know, a lot of the there's not still a lot of great stuff out there that's rooted in body neutrality and weight science. Early resources were based in toxic positivity or worse, like loving yourself slim, or if you let go of trauma, the weight will, this sort of stuff. And so I really had to dig deep and find things. And so I think it's really been validating seeing what you use and what Danni uses and some of the other participants in the program, that's been really great. So knowing this evidence-based stuff, identifying core beliefs that fuel our internal dialogue, what hooks us, and making these values-based choices. So I think that it's really helped with my confidence.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. And what did you like best about the training?
Well, a few things. It was very cool that there were participants from around the world, like a few of us in Canada, a few people in the US, and then Sweden and Barcelona. Is that right?
Yeah, Spain. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was Barcelona. I know it was Spain, but I believe near the beach, so I think it was Barcelona.
Yeah, somewhere warmer than here, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was really neat, interesting to hear their views, the work they're doing in body image distress, how it presents the same, how it presents differently across culture. So that was great. And I really like that the program was presented by both you and Danni, bringing together your backgrounds and your experience and your knowledge and evidence-based practice as well as practice-based evidence, and really rounding that out. So yeah, there's a few things that were really great.
Mm-hmm. If you could think of one thing that impacted you most about the class, or something that you didn't know before, what would that one thing be?
Well, I think it's definitely gaining a better understanding of the roots of anti-fatness as anti-Blackness, the many layers of how Black bodies were systematically dehumanized in order to justify and alleviate really the consciousness of those who enslaved them. And I started to inform myself a few years ago. I read Sabrina String's book, Fearing the Black Body. And I think completing this certification and this knowledge, a lot of it's just really come together, because it wasn't always easy to sort of make these connections. Okay. And so, well, what does that mean for us now when we're having these self-deprecating thoughts or feelings that we don't measure up, or that we're not worthy unless something changes? And Sabrina Strings talks about race acting as a double agent. And, what I think she's talking about here is that racism serves certainly to discipline people of Black bodies and brown bodies, but also to discipline white people. And so this is really important to me to learn more about this, to discuss this with my clients as a social justice issue, as body autonomy issues. And, we often think that these efforts we engage in with dieting and exercising and changing and manipulating our weight, our shape, our appearance is within our control. And what we've come to know from weight science, it's not possible, but as well, really what the real drivers are, that the sort of hustling for worthiness, as we know, is really manipulating this, ourselves via weight, shape, and appearance, really is deeply rooted in racism. And so I think that's stuff that really impacted me the most.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And so would you recommend this program to other professionals?
Yeah, I absolutely would recommend it to other professionals, that if you're looking to just have a deeper understanding of body image distress, how it can present in people for different reasons, right? And kind of the roots of that, to gain really realistic and sustainable skills and tools that you can integrate into your practice, which I thought was great. Just sort of weave it into what you know and build on what you know. So I would recommend it to others.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Patty. And do you have like a website or social media presence, or somewhere where like people can find you?
Yeah, definitely. People can find me on Instagram at Embody Counseling and Coaching. And my website is embodytherapygroup.com.
Oh, fantastic. That's so good to know. Thank you so much for being here, Patty. I really appreciate you sharing that. It was such a pleasure to have you in the group. You have so much wisdom that you offered, and it was just great having you in this cohort.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for being here. You can learn more about the Body Image Coach Certification Program by going to bodyimagecoachcertification.com, or you can find any of the links and resources mentioned in this episode at summerinnanen.com/237. Thank you so much for being here this week. We'll be back with more body image related episodes in the next week or two, I think. I think there's a week hiatus between this episode and the next one. So we'll talk to you soon. Rock on.
I'm Summer Innanen, and I want to thank you for listening today. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Summer Innanen. And if you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts, search Eat the Rules, and subscribe, rate, and review this show. I would be so grateful. Until next time, rock on.